No, this is wrong. Oh my God! Look at what you did to him.
Yeah, unbelievable. You just saw some video there of a United Airlines passenger being dragged off of a plane in order to make room for some crew that had been on an overbooked flight, 4 crew members. It's now been shared basically on all corners of the internet. Everyone's seen it. People are viewing this thing over and over again all across the world. It is what you call a PR nightmare, but you know, it doesn't stop there. Shares of United stock, they're down about 3% right now after an internal email from CEO Oscar Munoz was leaked in which he blamed the bloodied passenger for being, quote, disruptive. And he says, and I quote, "When we approached one of these passengers to explain apologetically that he was being denied boarding, he raised his voice and refused to comply with crew member instructions, and each time he refused and became more and more disruptive and belligerent." Joining me right now, Reason Magazine editor Matt Welch, along with All About Them author and branding expert Bruce Turkel. You know, look, I'm sorry. I come from the school where the customer's always right? And isn't United in the customer services business, Bruce? I mean, couldn't they have done something to perhaps be a little nicer to this guy who had bought a ticket?
Of course they could have, Trish. It was a financial decision. They could have given away vouchers, which cost them nothing. And more importantly, as we say in in a marriage, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Whether they did the right thing, the wrong thing is irrelevant. What matters is that they have this customer service crisis nightmare on their hands now for no reason.
Yeah, and Mr. Munoz is not making it any better. I mean, you could pretty easily just come out and say, "I'm sorry, we made a big mistake. We need to make it up to this particular gentleman. You know, you can, I don't know, fly free for the year." But I'll tell you one thing.
It's bigger than that because it was an attack on all customers, because what it says to any of us in any seat is our paid-for seat means nothing. But you're right. He should have said, "I'm sorry, we made a mistake. Here's how we're going to fix it."
I'll tell you one thing, and we all hate flying, right? We can agree on that. Flying has just gotten so miserable. I hate it. I'm sure you hate it. And part of the reason is because they treat you like cattle. I mean, these airlines are not very nice to their customers. In this case, and that's happened to me. I mean, I've been on a flight before where I've actually had someone come up and say, "Oh, I have that seat." In other words, the airline overbooks, and they do that for economic reasons. I get it. But, you know, if we want to bring economic reasons into all of this, our friend Matt Welch here will tell us there are other things that you could have done incentive-wise to at least sweeten the deal so the guy might have been a little more willing to walk off the plane.
First of all, just offer more money than $800.
A voucher.
That's a voucher, just more money. I mean, there's going to be a price at which you can get your overbooked flight not being overbooked anymore. There's a federal regulation setting a cap on that amount, which is ridiculous, and it should be removed.
Wait, we have a regulation that says you can't offer more than
$1,350. Yes.
You're kidding. Nope. That's ridiculous.
There you go. And then also, if you really want United to suffer, and I think the world wants United to suffer and is watching it suffer indeed today, offer more competition. The United States is one of the last industrialized democracies left that has an artificial barrier on foreign companies owning airlines here. Richard Branson can't run an airline. A foreign carrier cannot operate a line. We only have 5 companies.
So you need more competition. And by the way, let's not forget, guys, all the mergers that have happened, right? So these airlines get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're so concerned about that bottom line. To me, Bruce, you know, they should have found a more innovative way to go about this. You know, their employees, I'm sorry, maybe those employees have to wait and catch the next flight, or maybe you offer the $1,000 and a free first-class ticket or 2 or 3 to the destination of your choice.
Exactly right. There's an old saying in marketing, when you're explaining, you're losing. So the fact that they had to get employees somewhere, the fact that another plane would be delayed, none of that matters to the customer. But to your guest's point, and to your point, you keep increasing the offer until someone says, "I'd love to get off this plane and get those tickets. I have kids in college, I want to go," whatever. But the way this person was treated and the way he was singled out, and then how this escalated, when my kids were teenagers, we used to tell them it's easier to stay out of trouble than to get out of trouble.
Well, what would you advise the CEO? I mean, yes, they got themselves in trouble, and the CEO had to deal with it after the fact. But, you know, by doubling down and basically telling his employees, "You were right," he just imploded this whole thing. So, Bruce, if you had to if you had to advise the CEO, what would you have said?
5 simple steps. Number 1, confess.
I don't have time for 5.
Okay, apologize and
go.
make good on it,
All
sincerely.
right. I think that would have worked. I think people would have been more willing to forgive, but this just makes it all the worse. Thank you so much, Matt and Bruce.
Thank you.
We're taking a quick break. I'll be right back.